Hej allihopa och välkommen till Pengaflödet-podcasten. Mitt namn är Emily.
Och mitt namn är Anna.
Vi håller på med fastighetsinvesteringar i Storbritannien. Och den här podden kommer handla om just detta och vi kommer varje vecka ta upp relevanta ämnen och intervjua personer som vi finner inspirerande.
Hej och välkomna till Pengaflödet-podcasten. Idag har vi Laura. How is it, Laura?
I'm good, thank you. Are you?
I'm fine. Sweating. It's 28 degrees here in Sweden. I don't know what's the weather in.
It's quite warm in Sheffield, surprisingly, but it's certainly not 28 degrees.
Wow. We're lucky Swedes today.
Definitely lucky. It's normally raining here.
Yeah. So today I thought I should interview you because you're a very inspiring female. And I saw you when I was in the UK October last year at the Canary Wharf PPN.
Yes.
We sat in the same table and you explained about social media and the day and time that we're living out in. Social media is very must.
Yeah, definitely.
As a property investor.
100%. Completely with you on that.
And who else wouldn't be better to ask than you then?
Oh, thank you. Very kind of you.
So tell us about your background.
So my background. I started investing in property full time in September 2018. But before that, I had nothing to do with property. I was an equine nutritionist. For people that don't know what that is, that's basically advising people what to feed their horse. I'd done that for 10, 15 years, incorporating sales and marketing into that role. And then kind of took the plunge to join my husband, who was already full-time in our property business in 2018. So he's the one with the experience, the background. He's the one who bought and built our first properties. And I kind of joined him to do the marketing, because he doesn't like doing that type of thing, to work and find investors and to develop them relationships with estate agents and do a lot of the direct to vendor marketing that we do in our business. So that's kind of where it happened. The reason why it happened for us, unfortunately, is because something changed dramatically in my life. I lost my mum and quite a few other members of my family within a couple of months of each other. And working for big corporate companies, I'm sure a lot of people can relate. You know, you spend so much time working so hard for other people, but you don't spend the time with the people that you love and care for. And going forward, we wanted to change our life so we would never have to do that again. And for us, the only way was doing property.
That's so inspiring, very inspiring, because my dad and brothers has well passed away, and I feel exactly the same, that life is too short to just leave it out.
Sorry to hear
that. Likewise.
But it puts you on a different path.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. It opens your eyes more.
Definitely, 100%, and it makes you appreciate your life and the type of life you want. And I think sometimes, unless you've unfortunately gone through these stages, or you'll never kind of transition from what you're doing to putting yourself out there and creating a better life for you and your family. So it has, I wish all my family were here, but if they were, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing now. So, I believe everything does genuinely happen for a reason. I do believe that.
Yeah. You have a great mindset that you don't dwell on the past and try to see positive from it and try to.
Well, you've got to, haven't you? You've got to. Otherwise,
you're forced to.
100%, and you'll completely get where I'm coming from on that. So yes, that's my start into property and my background of how we made the transition.
Yeah. So going into, you said different, you're the people person and marketing strategy, etc.
Yeah.
Which one do you see gain the most success? Is it direct to vendor or is it Facebook ads or?
In regards to property, for me, it's always been to find property. You know, Facebook ads is something that I've recently started doing over the last probably 2 months. We've always had a massive succession rate with agents and with utilising the HMO register. Now, even if you're looking for just buy-to-lets, for example, we've always got a lot of leads from the HMO register, because what you find is these landlords don't just have HMOs. They have big commercial buildings, they have buy-to-let portfolios, but that's just the initial point of contact. So the HMO register for us has been very lucrative. I've stopped mailing out to it now, actually, because we've got other, you know, we want to concentrate on new builds, which I'm sure we'll come on to. We were spending £344 every 3 months, and fingers crossed, you are the first person I want to tell. As of yesterday, we've just agreed a figure on an 18-bed unit for £848,000. So,
wow.
And that lead came from the HMO register, and we've been nurturing that relationship now for the past 14 months. Fingers crossed to the lenders, the lender gods, but you know, it's taken that long. But they're the types of leads you can get from utilising your HMO register in your local area. And estate agents, you know, building a great relationship with estate agents. We don't have to be going in there every week. They ring us when they've got stuff that they know won't sell easily, or they need a quick sale. You know, at the minute, yes, it's difficult because everyone's wanting to buy. I mean, I don't know what it's like in Sweden, but here, you know, it's so buoyant is the market. Most of the properties are going over the asking price by £10,000-15,000. You know, we've just sold a flip project to sell that we thought we'd get 130 for. We've sold it for 140, and it's a 3-bed terrace. You know, so at the minute, people want to move. So, but keeping in contact with the estate agents is critical for whatever is going to come in the next few months.
Yeah. So you also believe that we're heading for a crash, basically?
In my personal opinion, you know, I'm not an economist, I'm not an expert or anything like that. I've never been through a property crash before whilst I've been a property investor. But all this turbulence in the world can't go without affecting the property market. Once people come back off furlough, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. They're not going to be able to afford to move, or they're going to have to sell. They're going to be in financial difficulty. You know, the HMO market in the UK has taken a massive hit. And I've seen it just from the one HMO that we got. So I don't think we're out of the woods. I think in the next end of this year, beginning of next year, we're going to see the true effect of what lockdown and COVID-19's affected the UK.
So then my following question is, are you taking on some new flips now then?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So we actually did pull out of one as we went into lockdown. So we had two. We had the one we've just sold, but that was literally within days of exchanging. So we exchanged on February the 14th and completed on that one. The other one was literally, we were like, oh my God, you've got to be joking. And the other one we pulled out because the investor that we were going to be working with, he's a builder, and he was very unsure of his workload and actually what he was going to be getting paid during that time. So we just said, let's just cut his losses, and we did. And you know, the people who were selling it have kept it, renovated it, and you know, they're trying to sell it now. So flips at the minute for me are, and I wouldn't be putting my money into flips. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. I think you guys did the right choice.
Definitely.
So you have done. It seemed like you've done the whole property ladder. Like you said, you're doing new builds now. Which strategy do you prefer?
100% build to rent or buy to let. It's just so simple. It's so straightforward. My husband loves new builds, which is obviously what we're now transitioning into more full time. But you know, I've been through it. We've done serviced accommodation, we've done HMOs, we've done rent to rent deals. Actually, I decided that I'd package on instead because it wasn't for me. Buy to lets is 100% my favourite. It's completely set and forget. You know, during this time that we've just been through, touch wood, we've not had any issues with any of our buy to let tenants. The only issues we've had are with our HMO tenants. And not issues as in not paying, just they want to move out because they don't want to be in shared accommodation. They want to move into flats. They want to move into buy-to-lets. And I just feel like buy-to-let is an absolutely rock-solid investment. Yes, it takes you longer. But, we've not had tenants move out of some of our properties for 6 years now.
Wow. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's me and Emily's point of view as well, that HMO, and especially now when you UK person, from a Swedish perspective, we're used to not sharing household, but like in UK you're used to it. But it seems like everyone wants to have their own space, their own kitchenette, their own toilet and shower. So it seems like it's just going off the roof. So the competition is like that's just our personal take on it.
I mean, my personal take is, HMOs are great, but, for me personally, we do self-manage our HMO. We've been really fortunate with the tenants that we've had for the first 12 months. So it's a year ago since we renovated this property and let it out. We've literally just had a turnaround of tenants bar one. And so now we've got a new set of tenants in, which is fine. But, during after lockdown has kind of lifted in the UK, trying to find tenants who want to share properties has been very difficult. Now, I'm not bashing HMOs. I'm not bashing serviced accommodation. It just doesn't sit in line with my personal vision of my lifestyle of what I want. I don't want to be, changing tenants every 6 months, doing higher maintenance, be getting cleaners in, etc. I don't want that. I want to put a tenant in. They're in there for 12 months plus with very little maintenance and very little issue. So that's just what we want to do in our business for our personal goals.
You said new builds and buy-to-let, but overall, which one is the most difficult?
Difficult. To be honest with you, my husband prefers doing new builds to renovating buy-to-lets.
Wow.
The reason is because obviously, you get an old house, you have to, completely strip it. There's normally underlying issues, trying to get things to fit and jig things around, refit the kitchen, etc. Whereas with a new build, it's all brand new. You're building it, it's measured, everything's ordered, it goes straight in, more or less. You do get issues, obviously, but, even with the electrics, like, scrabbling around trying to rewire an old house, you're full of dust. And with it, with a new build, you pop the electrics in as you go, and it's really straightforward. And, the build costs are a fraction of what they are really to buy one. So, yeah, we preferred building. Like I say, this is our second new build project. So our first one we've kept in our portfolio. So we obviously do build to rent. So there's 2 shops and 2 flats, all brand new. We've had very, very little maintenance issues, and they're 6 years old now. Now these ones, there's 3 3-bed detached. The idea is to sell them, but actually what we are thinking is we might keep them and refinance them because investors paid for the build. So we would refinance that and then give them back their money. Then we could hold on to them potentially. Depending on the climate, we don't know what's going to happen. So, but we can do that because of the area that we've chose to build them in.
Yeah. Speaking of investors, how do you get them? Social media queen.
Well, it's funny you say that. So when we first started in September 18, we didn't have any investors. And it wasn't until March that we were really fortunate that we had a pot of money ourselves. So my husband had sold his renewable energy business, which was quite a large business in Sheffield. We'd sold that, so we had quite a big lump sum to start off with. But what we realised pretty quickly is actually that, you know, waiting for refinance to come through, it actually completely restricts your speed that you can kind of buy at. So March 2019 was when we said, look, we need some investors if we want to, because we started in September 18 with a basic income of £1,500 from our portfolio, and the idea was by September 19 we wanted to get to £5,000. That would completely cover our base cost. We, you know, we'd have a bit of extra money. We wouldn't have to be worrying about, you know, a new build project, you know, because with them they're feast or famine, and with us we needed a solid base that we can now go off and do new builds, and it might take 12, 18, 24 months to get paid, but that's fine because we've got a residual income coming in. I completely lost the train of thought there, by the way. What was the question? Oh, social media, sorry. I've got mum brain. I've had mum brain now for 4 years. So that was kind of why we decided to put ourselves out on social media. Now, I started doing it. I wasn't really getting much traction. And it wasn't until I met a mentor who is now a good friend of mine, David Siegler. He just said, look, Laura, if you want to do this seriously, you've got to be putting yourself out there every day, being consistent and being visible to people. So March 19, it took me 6 weeks to raise £700,000. And that was from 2 investors that I'd just been watching what I was doing. One of the guys who'd been watching had seen me, you know, bits and bats from like December 2018. And then in April, he got in contact and said, look, Laura, I've been watching you on social media. Because what we've always done is give social proof of what we're doing. So when we've bought a property, we've always taken people through that process. And what investors say to us who work with us is it actually instills confidence that you're not just saying you're buying property, you're showing us that you're buying it, you're showing us that you can refurb it. When there's issues, you're showing us how you overcome them issues, and then you're showing us how you let them out and how you acquire a good tenant. Because that's what we do in our business. We buy, refurbish, and then we manage. So by giving social proof and being consistent is something that massively changed our business in a very, very short period of time. But it was from somebody saying to me, if you want to do this properly and you want to raise a lot of money, you need to be utilising social media. You need to be utilising Facebook groups, which is where I started, because as many people who start in property, you start on your Facebook profile, which is great, but let's be honest, it's got, you know, 50% of people you met 10, 15 years ago, you probably don't speak to anymore. You know, you've got a percentage of their own family, some friends and colleagues that you work with. So not really any of them. In my mindset, I thought, well, I need to find some new property friends because these people aren't going to be really interested in what I'm doing. And the way to do that and build a following of people is by utilising a property group. So that's kind of what I did, and which completely turbocharged our business and our journey, so to speak. So yeah.
Yeah, it definitely have. It definitely have. So what should we think about when using Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube? Did I get everyone?
TikTok.
TikTok.
I think it can be really overwhelming for people. Like what you just reeled off there, you're like, oh my God, where on earth do I start? But for me, I literally just started on Facebook. I just utilised Facebook. I concentrated on one property group. Now there's many out there. The one piece of advice I would give is you need to utilise a group that's got thousands of people in it, not just a few hundred. Because what you find is there are people who are interested in property, interested in investing, but they're not active on there themselves. They're actually just looking for people to work with. And that's why it's important that you're visible and being consistent and giving social proof. But I literally just started on Facebook. It's only recently I've started utilising LinkedIn more. And, you know, Instagram, I'm not as consistent on Instagram. My go-to is Facebook. The reason why I have these other assets, as what I call them, is because I just think if, for example, my Facebook account got shut down, I need to have them people on other asset platforms that I can just pick up and continue with the content. So it's completely dependent on your avatar, of who your investor is. You know, you can use Facebook for so many things, but looking for investors, you can use it for, you know, finding property, finding landlords, finding direct to vendor. There's loads of things you can utilize Facebook for, whereas the other ones can be a little bit more restrictive in that way. But it's completely down to you, your personality type. You know, LinkedIn, for example, you might have to be a little bit more controversial to kind of get some, you know, build up your following. That's not my personality. You know, I quite enjoy going around properties and showing people. That might not work on LinkedIn, for example. So your personality type, the content you're going to be putting out there, and your avatar, I would decide on first before you choose a platform to utilize.
Basically, I think you just use Facebook Live, right? When you're doing lives, you don't use the other platforms?
What I tend to do is so the quickest way to grow a following is by doing a live into a group. So for example, you've got Blue Oak, you've got Progressive Property in the UK, for example, you'll have your own in Sweden. So if you do a live video into a group, it's classed as unique content. Then what you do once you press end and the video's finished, you then save it to your phone. And the great thing with Facebook is in that saved video, you can repurpose onto your own personal platform or a company page. And again, it's still classed as unique content because it's the first time it's been uploaded onto your profile. So there you've got two organic reach videos that are going to go further than they would if it was a pre-recorded, for example. And that's why I do video, because you get maximum reach with as minimal effort as possible. And then them videos a couple of days later, because I've saved them on my phone, I might put one on Instagram, I might put one on LinkedIn, but I would never do it on the same day because it'll drastically reduce your reach, because once it's on multiple platforms, the algorithm just shrinks it down. So that's why it's important to get maximum reach in the first 30 minutes, because that's the further it will go.
Mm.
So yeah.
This is a whole jungle.
There's so much to all of them. You can't be an expert in all platforms. I mean, I'm not an expert in Facebook, by the way. I'm not claiming that. And my knowledge is with Facebook. You know, it's not with Instagram. It's not with LinkedIn. I know the basics, but I don't know loads of in depth about Instagram, for example. Because you know, at the end of the day, we're all trying to build a business here. We can't spend all that time, because that would be a full-time job for somebody. But get good with one platform, utilize that to the best, and you know, then have the other ones as assets and trickle feed information into them.
Yeah. And what about the hashtags? Because this is you know, because some say, I think it was you, I'm not sure, in your group, that you should just use one hashtag, you know, on Facebook, or if you said it, you should not use hashtags on Facebook because that's bad. I don't remember, but like it seems like you need to know.
Very controversial.
Yeah.
So I've always been taught, and all the information I've got is that you don't use. Facebook doesn't recognize hashtags like Instagram. Now let's remember that, you know, the owner of the platforms owns Instagram. They also own Facebook. So why would they have them the same? So, you know, there's a thing called hashtagifyme.com. You can go on there, you can put in a hashtag and it'll tell you how it's going to rate. But, you know, Instagram 100% use hashtags. LinkedIn 100% use hashtags. They're not commonly used on Facebook. I think it's something they were thinking of bringing in or boosting up. But like I say, because the owner owns Facebook and Instagram, why are you going to have two, you know, they're not going to compete, and they are very different platforms and they're utilised in different ways. You know, now Instagram's changed where it's got these reels to compete with TikTok, for example. You know, Facebook and LinkedIn, Facebook and Instagram are never going to be complete direct competition because they've got the same owner, so they're going to have very different outputs, so to speak, or inputs, whatever you want to call it. That's just personal opinion. Like I say, I'm no social media guru or expert. It's what I've learned over the years, and it's what's worked for me. So yeah, that's just my take.
What are the pros and cons when borrowing in your personal name instead of in your company name?
Okay. So are we talking about investor finance here?
Yeah, investor finance.
Okay, so
Yeah.
how we work in our business is we'll get an investor on board, for example. We used to do, so say for example, they lent us £100,000 for 12 months at 8%. Then at the end of that term, we give them the £100,000 plus the 8%. But what we do now in our business is they lend us, so me and my husband personally, we don't do it into our business because it's harder to move the money around from project to project. For example, the new builds are in a company called Staveley Homes, but if somebody's lent the money in our business, I Squared Property, it's very difficult for us to then move that money over to a different company. So our investors that we work with lend us the money to us personally, and then they have, they can have a debenture, they can have personal guarantees. We've got unencumbered property. That's not an issue. But what it does is it gives us the flexibility to move the money to whatever project we need it for. Now, what we don't do anymore, we don't lend on a 12-month return, really. If it's a certain amount of money or whatever, we'll look at it. But the reason why we don't anymore, and COVID is we'd done it before, but COVID's massively kind of concreted our decision, is now we only work with investors who will lend from a minimum of 2 to 5 years. Now, the reason for that, for example, COVID just happened. Say, for example, you bought a house, you've just got it through legals, you've had that money 4 or 5 months. It's going to take you another 3-4 months to then refurb that property. Then it's going to take you potentially another 2-3 months to sort all the refinancing out. Then you've gone over term. Then you're going to be penalised by that and paying them extra. It's just very, very stressful. And so we like to give ourselves a buffer. But what we do with our properties is, especially the buy-to-let, we lend the money off our investor for a return for 2+ years. But when we refinance, we make sure we can get all the money out bar the refurb money. The refurb money is always our physical money that we've put into a project. So we will leave that money in, but that will ensure that we get the extra money out. Then what we do is once we've got it refinanced, the cash flow from that property, now what we do is that goes into a bank account, and then at the end of the year, that will be enough, more or less, to pay the investor back. So the cash flow from the properties we put into a bank account, so then we've got their money back, we've got their investment, the interest back, and we can give them the money back if we want. But by doing a 2 to 5 years, it gives you the flexibility to do more than one project. So you can quickly build up that interest back into a bank account because you've done maybe 4 or 5 properties. So you got it back quicker, you've utilised the money to the best of your ability, and it's a win-win for both parties. So that's how now we work with our investors, lending on a return. Obviously we do sourcing, but we've massively shrunk that back. We work with probably 4 or 5 investors now and we're quite happy with that, doing the source, refurbish and the management. Just because we want to concentrate on building our own portfolio. We've got some great investors on board now who do lend 4 or 5 years worth of money, and 3 of them transferred funds during lockdown, which for us, we never thought that would happen. We thought people would go the opposite way. But interest, it's nearly negative is the interest rate in the UK, and people's money are just it's eroding. It's not making any. It's not working for them anymore. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, that was a great great answer, and great demonstration how you work. And what does the lender say when you refinance? Do they ask where the money comes from?
So as long as you can provide them with bank statements. So obviously, we're regulated with anti-money laundering. We've got the property ombudsman that we're part of, and many other things that we're registered with. As long as you can provide bank statements of how long that money's been in your account and where the money has come from, so then you get your investor to provide bank statements of where that money has come from, we've never had any issues. But to be honest with you, it's normally at the purchase that's pulled up at, if I'm honest, if it's ever mentioned. because obviously it's normally a solicitor that's dealing with that. So it might be a solicitor that might mention that and need to see where the money has come from. But on refinance, we've never really been asked it because the money's already in the project. So all we're doing is getting a value to come out. We're lending 75%, for example, and then we can pull the money out. We've got the mortgage with them directly. You know, we have to do personal guarantees because we do it through a company. Most of the time now, you know, we don't tend to get personal mortgages anymore. Obviously, there's pros and cons to that. Depends where you are in, obviously, your tax bracket. But for us, we have got properties in our personal name. We've got 6, but we won't get any more now because that would tip us over into the 40% tax bracket, which we don't want. So that's why we now use our company to do that. So all of our properties over the last 18 months are now through our company. And obviously with the Section 24 coming in, I want to say, now you can't, if you'd had them in your personal name. So I don't know if you've come across this, but there's a lot of landlords, especially in the UK, who have got a lot of properties in their personal name. They now can't claim back the VAT off their interest. So now they're paying these massive fees, and you know the properties just aren't making them any money anymore. Whereas in a company, you don't have that issue. But you know, there's just pros and cons to everything, and having a good property tax specialist is something I advise anyone to have if you want to build a business from it, and you're not just, you know, getting 2 or 3 just for a retirement fund or something like that. If you want to build a serious property business, I'd definitely get a tax specialist.
Yeah, no, it's just more that I was wondering because in Sweden they will see it as you're lending, you're putting in the like deposit, or how do you say, from a loan already, and then you're taking another loan. So the bank will see it as a risky loan.
I know what you mean. So we never buy with a mortgage. So we never use a deposit from a mortgage with investor funds. The only way we would do that, and we have done it in the past, is we've got, you know, we do have family members that invest with us. They might gift the deposit. You can do it that way. They are quite funny if you are using investors' money to buy a mortgage. But if you're an investment company and you're doing it through your company, and you've got proof that where their funds have come from, that they're lending you the money for example, 3 years in your business, there are lenders out there that will do that. You know, a lot of people do it now. It's quite common in the UK to do that. But if you're buying it in a company, I don't think you have that issue. If you're buying it in your personal name, that's where the problem is in the UK.
Okay. So what tips should we who invest from abroad think about when investing in UK?
Okay, so I think the first thing is definitely whoever you choose to work with. So obviously you're not going to be coming over here all the time buying property. You're going to have to partner up with somebody. 100% do your due diligence. Do not just take this person's word for it that they're investing in this certain area. The properties that they're sending you are from a great buy-to-let investment area, for example. Do your due diligence, not just on them, but the actual area. Because there's many people I've spoken to who invest abroad, from abroad, who invest in the UK, who have been sold a great deal. And yes, on paper, it is a fantastic deal, but it's in the worst area known to mankind. So I would, I've had it too many times. You know, it's not fair. But also, if you're wanting to work with a sourcer, I'd get at least 4 or 5 recommendations from other people. I wouldn't just go on a one-word recommendation, and I would absolutely stalk them to death on social media to get social proof of what they're doing, what they say they're doing, are they actually doing this, and is it done in a timely manner? And are they being consistent? Because a lot of people come on the scene for a couple of months and they vanish, then they run out of money, then they come back on the scene again. So due diligence has got to be absolutely number one priority, not just on who you're going to work with, but the area that you're going to be buying the properties in.
A good answer. Now we have come to the best part, the fun part.
Go on then. I'm nervous now.
What are your favorite movie,
Oh.
TV series. It can be Netflix or HBO or whatever you want, and book or books.
Favorite film? It's got to be Dirty Dancing. Sorry.
No,
it's an oldie but a goodie.
All right.
I feel like I should have said something like really cool, but it's just not. Best TV series. I'm going to go with the current one that I'm absolutely obsessed with, which is on Netflix, and it's Queen of the South. I absolutely love it. Yeah.
You're a gangster now.
I think I might have clawed it back now. Clawed it back from Dirty Dancing.
That's a really...
yeah, complete opposite ends of the spectrum. It's like me on a daily basis. James is like, what mood are you going to be in today? And then book. I quite like the E-Myth, but I'm sure you probably had hundreds of people say that to you. So I'm going to go with Michelle Obama, Becoming Michelle Obama. It was a very inspirational book, and I could really, even though obviously I'm not the first lady, never will be, the struggles that she'd had in her life and how she'd overcome them, and being a woman in business, I still feel a lot of them issues she had then apply now. So I found that book really inspirational, and I'm not a reader, as my husband would tell you, and I actually finished that one.
I think it's in. They have Audible in it.
Yeah.
Why didn't you just use that?
Well, I get bored. Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm so. If I'm reading a book, I have to do it before bed. But 99% of the time, like I'm listening to Curtis Jackson, Hustler at the minute, has to be on Audible, because if I get in bed with a book, literally 2 pages and I'm out, absolutely out.
I'm listening to it today, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Curtis Jackson has so
really
funny
good.
that both of us. It's really good.
Yeah, I really like.
It's very like it's about mindset and etc. But it's like the hood version.
No, but do you not think there's so many things that are so relatable? And I didn't think I'd like it, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things like that he brings from the hood into the corporate world.
Yes.
And actually, they're very similar. They are really scarily similar.
Yeah.
And the thing I liked about him, I don't know if you got to this part. If I am, I've just completely spoiled you.
It's okay.
Is when he talks about his crew, like the people around you. And, you know, we talked about at the beginning about I lost my family. I lost all the people around me and had to build it back up again. And the people who I surround myself with now, I didn't know 5 years ago. Completely different set of people. But now I feel like I've got the right people around me. Whereas when I had my family, that friend circle, they were very negative, and I never would have been able to do the things I can do now if I'd have kept to them previous life people, so to speak. So I love that he talks about all that, because I think it's really relevant.
I loved it as well.
Yeah.
I've come that far. I think
that's all right. Then I'm not spoiling it. And anyone listening, I apologise if I'm spoiling.
No worries. Okay, Laura. This has been very fun, but we have come to the end.
Oh, no.
We need to do a follow-up podcast, because social media is changing all the time. Plus, we need to know about your journey, because you're evolving. This is a bonus. Are you considering doing commercial to resi? Or is just new builds?
Yeah, so we are looking at commercial to residential. That's more my husband's department. But yeah, I think especially end of this year, beginning of next year, there's going to be massive opportunities for commercial to residential, and especially now they've changed the planning laws in the UK. So I think that's a massive opportunity, and especially because a lot of people are nervous by it as well. So anyway, I don't know if have you heard of Ranjan Bhattacharya? He does the Baker Street Property Meet. Amazing guy, like so knowledgeable about commercial to residential. So if anyone's thinking of that, I'd check out his videos on YouTube, because they're really awesome. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I know him. He's quite big.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. In commercial to residential.
So if someone wants to contact you, listen to your podcast, because you have a podcast, even if you have so much to do, so you release it sometime. You're a bit like Mark Homer. You release one and then you wait like 2 months and then you release three.
That's me.
But it's good.
Inconsistent on there. In lockdown, I was consistent. Not so much these days. I try and do one a month. I just do one a month, if I'm honest with you. If you get any more, it's a bonus for you.
Yeah, but I like it.
It's called The Social Propertypreneur, so it's all things in regards to social media, being a property investor and entrepreneurship. So yeah, we have a vast variety of guests on there, so pretty cool. But you can get me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, website. Yeah, and it's just Laura Muse Official on Instagram and LinkedIn.
But I think you will get her. She will answer your question most if you use Facebook.
Definitely Facebook.
Because she's the Facebook queen.
Oh, thanks. I'm definitely on Facebook.
Okay, then take care, Laura. And
thank you for
have
having
a
me.
Nice vacation. I know you're going on vacation tomorrow.
Yes, I can't wait. Woohoo! Thank you, Nana.
Don't be stressed. Invest, people. Bye.